Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Braika. I'm going to be looking at something that's a pretty hot topic in these last decades or two, and something called gender identity. People trying to promote different approaches to gender. But the Bible is also very clear about it, and here in Genesis, it tells us that God created man, male and female. Okay, male and female. So Zakar and Nakwa. Both of these names have hidden agendas or hidden meanings to them in the Hebrew. So that's one thing we're going to be looking at to bring a little closer definition as to what these two terms mean here, male and female, zakar v'nachba. Words and expressions in any language can have both apparent, okay, and hidden meanings. The translations are usually made on the basis of the apparent or the obvious meanings. Some versions of the Bible give literal or hidden meanings in the footnotes. In other words, this is what it says in the Hebrew, and then we translate to some other language. The literal meaning can give a greater depth of understanding to the apparent meaning. So we're going to be looking at the literal meanings of some of these words, and that helps us to give a little more clarity as to what's happening with the apparent or the translated meaning. What we see in the scripture, there's something behind that, and something that we can see and investigate and get to know a little better about what's happening. We begin with Genesis 1, verse 26. That's the stage for the study here. Vayomer Elohim, and God said, Na'aseh Adam, we will make man, Shalmeinu, in our image, Kidmetmuteinu, in our likeness, V'yirdufu begdigat hayam, ve'of hashemayim, and they will rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, of the heavens, u'babeima, and in the beasts, in the whole haaretz, bekol haaretz, and in the whole earth, ve'kol haremesh, and those who creeping things, more like lizards or alligators, something like that. Haremesh, haremosh, this is the name, and then this is what they're doing. Haremesh, they go around back and forth in the water or on the ground. So bekol haremesh remosh al haaretz, on the earth. Of course, the top pinnacle part of the creation is the creation of man. And so Yivarach Elohim et ha'adam beshalmo beshalem, Elohim bara oto zakar ve'nechava bara otam. So and God created man in his image, his own image of him, but in the image of Elohim, of God, he created him, male, zakar, v'nachva, female, bara, he created otam, he created them. This is Genesis 1, verse 27. We're going to focus on unechava. Just keep that in mind here, nechava. And we'll go across to 2 Kings 18, verse 21. This has the previous one was a noun form of our root, and this one's a verb form of the root here, nechava, and actually pronounced almost the same way. So the verb and the noun very much similar here. But we'll get into it here, 2 Kings 18, verse 21. And this is, of course, the complaint over what happens with Mishraim, with Egypt. V'atach hine batach ta lecha al mish'enech, and now, hine, take a look, behold, batachta, you have trusted, lecha, for yourself, al mish'anet, on the staff, mishanet, hakanach, that is the reed, haradu suts, the splintered reed, the shattered one, you rutz, you can kind of see the tips of the strings or the stalks split out into a very, very slender needles that will do a lot of pain in the palm of your hand. Nikav remutz, hazeh, this one, al Mishraim, against Egypt, Mishraim, Asher, which Yeshamech, ish, a man trusts or a man holds on to. And Shamech, this of course is a verb, is based on Samek. The Samek here, by the way, is the one, what you described this particular letter, the one that looks like a circle. and it's a pole that holds things up. Okay, it's a scaffolding sort of thing. Okay, it's the things that are holding up that you can be hold on to for support. Okay, you're supporting on, you're holding to support on this Mishraim. So Asher Shemech Ish, a man, alav on it, uva bekafo unekhewa, and then he holds on to for support, Samech, and it goes ba, and it goes into the cup, into the palm, the kaf of the hand, the nechwa, and it splinters, it perforates. Okay, nechwa, okay, nechwa. In fact, the ancient form of the kafo here was this symbol right here. It looked like a hand with fingers stretched out, and you can almost see the the reed jamming into the middle of the hand. Okay. Oh boy, this is quite a traumatic experience. Don't trust Egypt. You put your hand on the top of a staff, the thing breaks, and a bunch of pieces jam into your hand. That's what Egypt is. Don't trust it. So, Nekaba. Okay. This one is from 2 Kings 12, verse 9. Then Jehoiada the priest took a chest. Okay. Vayakach Jehoiada HaKochen Aron. Aron is a chest. Same as the word is for ark. Okay. Aron, also the name of brothers of Moses, but here it is, Aron. Vayakach Jehoiada HaKochen Aron Ehad, a singular one chest, a certain chest. Vayakov, and then he bored. He scraped or bored a hole, probably a stone chest, and then he just takes a chisel and started scratching a hole into the top of it. Okay, Vayakov, hor, a hole. Bedelato, delet is the same word as door, but this is a door that's laying flat, so it's more like a lid. Okay, delato, dalet. Okay, and in fact the dalet letter also derives from this word here, badalato, and then the door or the lid. Ve'aten, and then he gave it or placed it, oto, it. Etzel on the side, hamishbeach, and that's the altar. Beyamim, to the right, babo, ish, in which comes a man, each man. Beit Yehovah, into the house of Jehovah. Yetanu, shama, and then placed there. HaKochanim, and then the Kochanim placed the kesuv. Okay. These are the subjects then, and that's plural here, of course, male, plural, masculine, plural, suffix ending here. Natanu, Shema, Kochanim, Shemre, Hasaf, the ones who guarding the threshold, the flat part of the entry to the door, guarding the door basically of the temple. Et Kol HaKesef, all of the silver Mubaf that was brought. This is the stock being brought, and this one's the money being brought, Mobah, which was brought. It's a reflexive form of the Surik, of course, here. Mobah, Beit Yehovah, to the house of Jehovah. And what we have here is Jehoiada taking an Aron and taking the lid, and then Yaakov cutting, scraping out a hole. Okay, that is, he bored a hole in the lid of this Aron. And we find in Jesus, when the Pharisees came up in order to test him and asked, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? He answered them, what did Moses command you? And he said, Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of divorce and to send her away. And Jesus said to them, because of your hardness of heart, he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female, zakar ve'nechva. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And so they are no longer two, but one flesh. But therefore God has joined together, let not man separate. I've got some part of the Greek here. Enakain, otuto, katalefen, so that leaves a man. Ton patra, his father, and his mother, kai tein matera. Kai esothai, hoi duoi, sarkan, into the flesh of one. And this incident, this aish towards or into, is a very common form of see it often in Hebrew also with be, okay, be, towards or inward. So ace zarka, mian, single one, Hosete okute isendu ala ke mien sarx. Okay, so they will not just be single flesh, but they will not be two flesh here, duo. They will not be a duo, but they will be a single flesh. And the idea that humans can define their own gender identity is an example of the worst of human arrogance. If you say, "Oh, this is what I want to be," well, watch out. God has made you something, and trying to go against that is a bad idea. Only God defines our gender identity with visible evidence, okay? And the evidence, we see it very clearly in Genesis, Zakar ve Nachba, okay? Nachba. When we live our lives with the gender identity God has given us, we enjoy God's blessings. When we live against the obvious gender identity God has given us, we are doomed to a life of frustration. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, as well as the destruction of the tribe of Benjamin, occurred because of the gender sin of their inhabitants. And so this is very important. When we live according to the gender identity that God has given to us, things will go well. If we fight it, if we don't accept it, if we work against it, we're doomed to, as I say here, frustration. And it's generally true. Anytime we live according to the will of God, we can generally work through things very well. If we work against or live a life against the will of God, most certainly we're going to be facing lots of trouble. So learn from it. Learn from what the Bible tells you, it tells us about gender identity. And when we maintain some clarity about the matter, I'm sure that individually and as a society, we'll be able to work things through much better. So God bless and God sustain you and God give you wisdom as you deal with these very important matters. Until the next time.